Am I the idiot for not siding with my parents who are trying to force my brother to have a baby? My brother and my sister-in-law have been married for 6 years. I love them both dearly. They adopted a little girl about a year ago. My parents were happy about this too, at first. They got really angry when my brother and sister-in-law announced recently that their daughter would be their only child, and they do not want biological kids. My mom and dad lost their poop. They told my brother he had to get my sister-in-law pregnant. He was the family's male heir and he would have to have a biological son to carry forward the family name. This makes no sense to me, nor my bro and sister-in-law. It's not as if we're a family of European royalty. Who gives a frick about the family name in this day and age? Well, my parents apparently do. They've been berating my brother and guilt-tripping my sister-in-law, making her feel like she's taking something away from our family. On one occasion they actually suggested that my brother leave my sister-in-law if she didn't want to get pregnant and have a son with another woman. What's even worse is that they've stopped paying attention to my niece. Earlier, they would call and talk to her almost every day, but ever since they were told about my bro and sister-in-law's decision, they've stopped calling her. This pisses me off and has deeply saddened my bro and sister-in-law. A child is 3 years old and doesn't deserve this kind of treatment. Yesterday, when I called my brother, he seemed very upset. He told me that mom and dad had called him and they had talked about something unrelated. When he asked if they wanted to talk to their granddaughter, they said they'd talk to their real grandchild when my brother came to his senses and decided to give them one. I was angrier than I've been in a long time. I called my parents and unloaded on them. I told them how selfish and cruel they were and how dare they take out their anger on my niece, along with a lot of other things I can't even remember. My mom started crying as she's not used to being yelled at. I understand that yelling at them may have been a bit much, but I just can't believe how awful they are towards a kid. So am I the idiot? Or are they? Edit. Some people have been wondering how my parents would act when I have kids. No need to worry about that since I won't be having any. I made this clear to my parents years ago and yes, they threw a fit over this. Update. It's been 4 weeks since I posted the original story. Since then, my parents have tried to rally our relatives, uncles, aunts, cousins, and our grandparents to gang up on my brother and sister-in-law to pressure them to have a biological child, preferably male. However, their plan has failed miserably. Most of the relatives told them they were being crazy. Cousins repeated some of the things that I had said to them. Uncles and aunts told them even if they did want a biological grandson, there was no excuse for the way they were treating my niece. Even my grandparents, who are quite old-fashioned, admonished them for their behavior. My brother has banned them from his home. I've banned them from mine. This ban will stay in place until they start treating my niece like their granddaughter, i.e., the way she deserves to be treated. I feel like my grandparents shunning my niece hurts even more because when she first became a part of the family, they appeared to love her. They would speak to her on the phone, play with her when they visited. But all of that stopped when they found out that my brother and sister-in-law won't be having any biological kids. They just rejected a little girl for no fault of her own. Not the idiot. If your brother really wants to nail it home, he can take his wife's last name, pay to file the papers and change it legally. No last name. Done. I'm seriously glad that you and your family have stood up to your parents. Their behavior is abominable and they should be ashamed. Not the idiot. Good on you. I don't want bio kids because I would rather adopt or foster. It's important to me and I can't imagine my parents treating me like this. The idea that only the men in the family can pass on genes is ridiculous and old-fashioned. And I do not want the name to die out, but your niece has their last name, yes. So again, why does it matter? Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for asking my dad if he chose his new family over me? My parents divorced 3 years ago because my dad had an affair and the lady got pregnant and he left us to be with her and the kid. My sister and I hate him, but our mom still wants us to have a relationship with him, so we see him once or twice a month to make her happy. My sister and I turned 16 on Saturday, twins. We had a party in the park with our aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents from both sides of the family. We all wore masks. The only person who didn't come was my dad. He came over yesterday to drop off our present. I swear it was made for an 8-year-old. This was at BTW. And said that he was sorry that he couldn't come to our birthday and that he was busy. He lost his job in May and has been sitting on his ass playing video games since because nobody's hiring, so I know he wasn't working. I asked him exactly why he couldn't come to our birthday and he just said that he was busy, so I looked at him and asked if the reason he missed our 16th birthday was because he wanted to be with his other family instead. He left without saying anything and I've been banned from their house for being rude. Am I the idiot for asking my dad if he missed my and my sister's birthday because he'd rather be with his other family? Edit. He hates it when we call them his other family because he wants us to think of them as our family. He even tried for a while to get us to call his new wife mom. Update. The visits with my dad have stopped. Instead, we spend those weekends with our grandparents, which is way better. My sister and I returned the dresses. My sister bought a jacket that she liked and I got shoes and makeup. When my dad found out that my sister and I weren't visiting anymore, he got mad. He said he didn't mean it when he said I was banned and I need to have a relationship with my brother and sister. Yes, this was how my dad decided to announce that his wife is pregnant. He also thought that would be the right time to tell us that our sister would need our room, so when we visit, we'd take the couch. He also wanted 50/50 custody. When our mom heard that he's giving away our room and wants to go to court for more custody, she lost it. She screamed at him about how irresponsible and selfish he is and told him that he'd be laughed out of court if he tried to get custody without us even having a bedroom there. I think he's still trying to go to court, but my sister and I don't like him and don't want to stay there anymore, and we don't have a room, so there's pretty much zero chance we're gonna have to stay there. Also, my mom introduced me and my sister to her boyfriend the other day and he seems great. He really wants to get to know some and my sister individually, something my dad didn't even care to do, and he's so nice to us and my mom. They're talking about him moving in a few months. So, even though my dad's a prick, I guess this story still has a happy ending. Not the idiot. Glad there's some happy ending there and he would be laughed out of court. Why force a 16-year-old to share a room with a 2-3-year-old? No judge would be happy with that. Plus, you and your sis are 16, you can decide your own custody. Not the idiot. God, your dad sounds like the most embarrassing idiot ever. He doesn't even work and sits around playing video games all day, and that other woman desperately wanted to nap him. Good riddance. I'm so glad things worked out for the better for you guys and your mom. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for not financially helping family and friends even thought I could? My son Nick was born with a congenital heart defect 17 years ago. It required a $60,000 surgery in Israel if he was to survive past 12 months. I've spent the first 3 months of his life running around, begging people and searching for money. My parents gave us $100. They had well-paying jobs and guaranteed state pensions. When I asked my brother for help, he mumbled something about needing to save for his daughter's college. She never went. By the way, anyone who met her could have told him that much. They did take regular vacations overseas though. My department of 40 at work donated $30 and a card. At one point I was seriously searching for ways to sell my kidney and liver. My in-laws sold their apartment for $35K. Best friend gave me another $7K, which was all he had. Accepting his help was one of the few times I cried in my adult life. I sold my car and every piece of furniture and electronics that wasn't bolted to the walls. My in-laws moved in, and we've spent the next 5 years living together, 5 people, crammed into a 2-bedroom. Surgery was a success. As fate has it, I started a hustle and it took off. After years of hard work, I moved our HQ to a Central European country to be closer to our EU clients. Even discounting about 2/3 of my wealth that is tied up in the business, I am a multimillionaire. My in-laws now have a 4-bedroom house. We pay for them to go on vacations 3 minutes 4 times a year, or did before 2020. My son is a hard worker who makes me a very proud father. I can't say that I hate those who didn't help back in the day. Hate is a strong word. Rather, I feel like I've learnt my lesson and don't expect anything from them. I don't invite my parents for visits. They are welcome to pay for their flights and a hotel room, but I won't cover their expenses like I do with the in-laws. My brother asked for a loan to start his business 5 years ago. I said the time wasn't right. 2 months ago his daughter got into a car accident. Drunk driving. Nothing seemingly life-threatening, but a lot of nasty scarring on her legs that require a costly cosmetic surgery. I suggested he looks into downsizing, as I am focused on helping my kids get a good education. Old coworkers who wanted to join my business once it took off were told to apply through the regular process. Except for my best friend. He's been my partner from the start, and I sleep better at night knowing we've got each other's backs. It comes without saying there have been lots of very unhappy people in my life. In our culture, you're expected to support your community and family. Do favors. Nepotism is very much an ingrained thing. You're supposed to bring over your family if you're lucky enough to root yourself in the Western world. Help friends emigrate. My parents told me to my face they are ashamed of me and how the Western culture has changed me. I've been called many things, way worse than an idiot and heartless. After hearing my story, tell me Reddit, am I though? Edit. To those wondering why my parents had a pretty lukewarm response, if you can even call it that, the surgery had a 40% success rate. They thought we should let nature run its course and instead try for a new baby. It may sound horrendous to Westerners, but it's not that cold of a statement to someone in our home country. But obviously wife and I didn't take it well. Update. So, it's been a couple months. I've learnt my lesson not to ask 17-year-old kids on Reddit questions about real life and made some decisions, haha. First, a lot of you did make valid suggestions that I took to heart. I spoke to my parents candidly about why I distanced myself from them. They were clearly ashamed, and I think it's that shame and pride that kept them from reaching out and apologizing years ago. My mom kept her face covered with her hands for most of the call. She was clearly sad. Anyway, I ended up telling them I would never want to see them go destitute, so if they are in poor health or need help with the basic necessities, I'm obviously a call away. Otherwise, things have stayed the same. Next, about my niece. Here's where I disagree strongly with most Redditors. She's a 20-something girl who made a tremendously stupid mistake. She took down a pole driving drunk and will pay for that with her physical appearance and health for the rest of her life. It could have been worse. Thankfully, that's all it was. I talked to her, and as a first step we paid for her initial scar treatment, some silicone dressings, steroid injections to improve the healing. They can't do the removal surgery until they heal properly and things settle down, so it could be another 6 months to a year before they reassess. She asked if I can also help her find a rehab. She wants to pay for it herself. She admitted to having a problem, and I won't go into why she started drinking, but I hope none of the haters have the same reason to turn to a bottle. I also told my brother that he's got a year to come up with half the cost of her surgery. If he doesn't come through, we'll have a conversation, but I think the fire is lit under his ass, and I'm covering half for sure. I'll remind people we aren't prosecutors and judges, so when it comes to moral judgments, we should do what we believe is right. I stand by my choices to keep my family at an arm's length but not let them fall into poverty if it comes to it, and I support my niece's her attempt to better herself. Not the idiot. I think you handled this all really well, but the point that sticks out to me is how you have handled your niece. I'm so glad that you reached out and talked to her about what happened and why, rather than just accepting that she's stupid. clearly she felt comfortable enough with you to discuss her addiction and trauma, and this could potentially be something that saves her life later on. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for allowing my wife to wear expensive jewelry to dinner and subsequently embarrassing my bill? For starters, I absolutely adore my wife. She's my rock and has been an infallible beacon of light for me this year. I lost my job at the beginning of the year, and when things got tough she buckled up, got a part-time job to help us stay afloat, and didn't have a single negative thing to say about it all. I finally got back on my feet again and wanted to do something nice for my wife once things settled down. She's a classic girly girl and loves to dress up, go out, etc. We really cut back this year, so when our finances felt stable, I wanted to splurge on something special for her. I bought her a diamond necklace, nothing too extravagant. We just got out of financial straits. I'm not turning around and blowing money I don't have. It's a single solitaire diamond that IMO was classy and elegant, but something she could wear on the daily. Cue to Thanksgiving dinner, and my wife wears the necklace to dinner. Her sister-in-law, her brother's wife, I'll call her Mary, notices the necklace and compliments my wife on it. My wife happily tells her how it was a surprise, and Mary agrees that it was a super sweet sentiment. Compliments me on my choice, and overall the family thought it was a nice gift, especially knowing that we went through hard times. A few days after dinner, I received a text message from the brother-in-law calling me an off for using Thanksgiving dinner to show off and make it all about me. He said that I shouldn't have let my wife wear such flashy jewelry to dinner and upstage everyone else, and that it was super selfish and conceited of us. I was stunned to be honest, because the necklace discussion only lasted several minutes, maybe 5 minutes 10, and the rest of the family only had nice things to say about it. They seemed genuinely happy for me and my wife. I'm starting to feel like an awe because it's true that the family isn't incredibly well off, and something like my wife's necklace would be seen as something very luxurious. My brother-in-law says that I'm now putting pressure on him to get his wife something extravagant for Christmas. On the other hand though, I don't feel like it's really my responsibility to care about how brother-in-law feels about a gift I got for my wife, and that if he feels pressure it's not on me. I don't know, was I the idiot for talking about the gift during dinner? Update. Thank you to everyone for giving me the confidence to move forward with the situation. There were a few questions in my last post regarding how my wife, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law were involved in the situation that I wanted to shed some light on. Unfortunately, the outcome isn't the best. The first thing I want to clear up is that brother-in-law is, in fact, my wife's brother. Secondly, the allow comment regarding my wife's choice in dress was from my brother-in-law. I have no interest or power in dictating what my wife chooses to wear regardless of the occasion. Thirdly, while I won't reveal the cost of the necklace, I can assure everyone that it was in a reasonable price range that definitely wouldn't turn any heads if worn out running errands, but was still special enough to my wife and myself. I initially wanted to keep the text messages from my wife in fear that it would sour the sentiment behind the necklace, but we're not the type to keep secrets from each other. When she read the text, she was 553. I've never seen her so upset, especially at family. She immediately called her brother and just reamed him out for his insensitivity. We were on the phone together, but I didn't really pipe up once they started arguing since I felt like they should work it out as siblings. They got in a long argument and her brother said he was worried that she was going down a slippery slope of becoming a superficial bitch, and that we shouldn't force our financial success on other people. That comment honestly shocked the both of us, because while they weren't close growing up, he's never talked to her like that before. At that point, my wife told her brother that if he wasn't going to be happy for her, that she had one thoughtful treat from her husband after a really shitty year, then she had nothing to say to him. A few hours later, my wife did get a text from sister-in-law. Apparently she also heard the conversation and was mortified. She at least reassured us that she was happy for our success after working so hard and that she'd try to talk some sense into her husband, brother-in-law. Regardless, my wife and I decided to spend Christmas without brother-in-law and his wife. We'll be doing it separately on Christmas Eve with her parents. At this point, there's just too much tension, and I didn't want to risk brother-in-law ruining Christmas because I wouldn't put it past him to find the gifts we get her family too luxurious and pitching a fit in response. Her parents are staying out of the situation for the time being but okay with meeting us separately, and I respect their decision. And this might make me off, but I'm going to take some advice from a few commenters and get my wife a nice matching bracelet for Christmas. Edit. I didn't include this before because my brother-in-law didn't concretely admit to anything, but my wife speculates that her brother's behavior is due to a competitive nature. She said that he's always loved winning, even as a child. During my rough patch he started coming around to help out, but now I'm starting to feel like it just gave him some sort of twisted satisfaction to see me failing. Not the idiot. Get your baby anything she wants. Go ahead, y'all worked hard for your money so you know where y'all deserve to play hide a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. This was a great update. Your wife's brother need to take a cue from you and get the stick out of his ass and get it together.